Buonasera, benvenuti su RaceFace.Pro. And for anyone that isn't Italian, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship here in the beautiful, luxurious Monza. Gotta say, absolutely fantastic. Went through a bit of the winelands a little bit earlier. It's an amazing time, but we are in for some amazing racing here tonight. Qualifying has just got underway, and we are going to be taking a look at some of the racing action out there. Daniel de Villiers, who's down the order at the moment, yet to put in a valid lap time. But people that have put in a valid lap time is the likes of here at Bukes. Done a fantastic job with this Mustang. Keep an eye on the Stingers Racing. Absolutely sent it last night to get his first ever podium. Yeah, and was really going and having a great bit of fun. Christoph Peterson back out on the track after his serious impact last night against Tristan Herbst coming onto the back straight. So he has done a little bit of repair work to the car to get it back out there. Craig van Zyl joins us in for a bit of fun in the Pandacity Apex machine. Brandon Kruger now topped up with a bit of fuel in his car after running out of fuel last night, making it 2 sprint rounds in a row, landing out of fuel. He's not going to be making that same issue. Instead of going to 90 litres, he's gone for 100 litres just to have that little bit extra in the tank. Dean here back out on track for the PWSR Alpha. He had a bit of a rough race last night. Put in the fastest lap time, but was down the order. A driver to keep an eye out on. First place last night, and the fan favourite, Daniel the Hitman de Villiers, looking to really put himself in the top flight. Jason Farmer, fantastic drive from him last night. Really enjoying a great race from his part. He's looking to do a huge bit of run. Tian Elof back out on the circuit and putting in the fastest lap time of the race with a 146.8 as he came across the line. Second place to him is Andre Sorodio from the Project Vapor team, going and stepping it up a little bit. Brandon Kruger now running in third place, is getting a bit more pace underneath his belt. Currently 0.3 up on his personal best, but he's going to have to beat out this little Porsche of Mordre Claassen, running in fourth place as they power their way through. Tyler Humphries coming back to the track after some time. He's had a bit of problem with his pedals, but got that all sorted out. He's back on circuit. Glad to have him returning to the track. Here Bukes down into that top 10. 11th place, Craig van Zyl. Ryan Barrington-Smith back out on track, looking to stand on the gas. Dino Kia a little bit further down. Nico Safaris, a new name coming in. And Nico Safaris from the Pandacity team. Nice to see that it's growing quite a rate of knots at this point. Mahath Musa back out on track, representing his old colours. Johan Blicknote down in 17th position. Jude Neville puts himself into first place with a 146.752. And take a look at that. 0.035. being the separation of first and second. I mean, this is incredible stuff. We go all the way down and all within a second of one another. So right up till Daniel de Villiers with a Christoph Peterson with his 146.9. They're all within a second of one another. Then we go further out of our top 8, or top 9, from 10th all the way down to 26th position. Connor Bergstrom, all running in the 147s. Then we got Chris Wall back out on track. Fantastic to see him. I know recently he tried out the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo and just had some terrible luck with it. Switching back to good old reliable, the Lamborghini. Lots of rotation. He seems to be a lot more happy with the car and hoping that that's going to be his proper chase to the lead. Richard van Eed back out on the track, running in 29th position. Had a bit of a rough race last night, but pulled it back from the brink. He's hoping that's going to work out for him. Vietia Buerta in 30th position, and Kieran Patterson rejoining to the circuit to absolutely hammer it home as well. Dino Kia leading out the top of the pack with the PWSR car, and Tian Elof now just taking a little bit easy as Paul Fenter is following him through just to try and keep things going. And he will be trying to just get himself all warmed up, ready for action on a very, very difficult circuit. Gotta say, this is going to be a very, very close one for all competitors out and all looking to really take their names forward. So, Paul Fenter letting the drivers go by. Logistical Nightmare sporting new colors and Simulator Cave coming to the sponsoring of the Logistical Nightmare Racing. So they're going and putting in some huge support. I know there's lots of pressure put on the team that they never used to have as much. There's a lot more taking things a little bit more seriously. It has changed the entire landscape for their racing team. Taking a look out to our virtual grandstands, our absolute VIPs out there, the biggest, baddest, and Antonio Gamble coming in and being a part of the show. Fantastic to see you guys. Kieran Patterson jumps himself up into 5th place, 5 minutes and 28 seconds to go. Andres Herodio lying in 6th, battling to pick up his time. Brandon Kruger, though, has picked up his 0.1 faster than his personal best at current with Johan Blicknote. Also, 0.1 up on his personal best. Ryan Barrington-Smith, who is currently 0.2 up on his personal best. Turnus Burta is out there, 0.2 up on his personal best. And shame, just to let you know, Turnus Burta needed a bit of stairs to get into the car. It's little short stairs, you know. Got to be very careful at the moment. Chap is getting on in age and everything's becoming a little bit too tall for him. Chris Heineke back out on track for the GSRT. Good to see him out there looking to take the fight. And he will be trying to charge his way up through the order. So a couple of cars still trying to get their times in. Look, note, getting a lot of pace coming out of Ascari, and is giving it everything he's got. 0.2 up on his best. The only others is Chris Heineke and Turnus Burta. Everyone else invalidating their times at current, just not able to improve it as yet. They're trying their absolute damnedest to try move forward, just not getting it. So Johan Blicknote has an opportunity. He did a 146.797, 0.3 up on his personal best. Can put him into the top 5 when he comes across the line. Gets into 2nd place, right on the back of Dean Nokia, who has still got the fastest lap time of the race. A 146.412, going and really pushing it that extra mile. Mordrake Claessen's huge jump up for him, right into 5th from 11th position. Brandon Kruger will have to be the next one there, along with Jason Farmer. Darren Miller absolutely going and having a great time. Now, Darren Miller's had the to and fro in his racing. He's out there in 6th, doing a fantastic job. This is a driver during our sprint series will sit out in the grandstands and cheer on like there's no leaving tomorrow, which is absolutely fantastic. To even go and back away from getting in the car and driving, showing the support out in the garden on the sides, and that's where we love to see it. Reginald going and being in the VIP grandstands. Good to see him out there. Noob Nation for anyone that wants to go and take a look. And Reginald does also stream all sorts of races, does all sorts of things. Great to see one of our usual bunch here in RaceFace.Pro, and always putting on a fantastic show. One manning the endurance races has been his usual turn of phrase, or turn of ordeal, so it's good to see him out there. Tian Elof, though, putting in the fastest lap time so far throughout the race. He is, well, throughout the qualifying, he's 0.2 up on everyone at current, and I think Elof will be a proper contender for tonight in the Ferrari, trying to get that Ferrari to the top end of the field, all Italians. But so far, we having Ford versus Ferrari. Dean Nokia in a Ferrari, Blicknote Kruger in a Ford, Elof in a Ferrari, and Bukes running in a Ford. So we are getting that little bit of Ford versus Ferrari, a little bit of Porsche coming in just to really change it up with Mordrake Claessen's and Darren Miller. And Kieran Patterson in the Aston Martin. He'll head out ahead of Jason Farmer and Andres Herodio back in the Ferraris. Maith Musa, an old reliable. Maith Musa has actually been quite a huge time in BMW. Started out in the M6 for anyone that goes really back to it, and it's good to see that he's stuck through it all. I mean, the M6 was the beautiful BMW. The M4 is really forgotten of well, should be forgotten of the BMWs, but not my personal favorite with its big snout. Then you take a look at the LDMH car, but BMW has shown they work like an absolute charm. I mean, LDMH worked well. Max Verstappen was racing in the Daytona 24. So maybe they're onto something there. I can see Reginald going and saying that he will be back on the track in due time. And can't wait for his grand reappearance. for 2025. So, Caribbean's currently 0.1 up on his personal best. So is Darren Miller. There's only 56 seconds left. And these drivers are going to have to really give it all, their absolute all. A couple of drivers might be able to get in a sneaky second lap, like Jude Neville at the current. He's just out of that top 10, sitting in 12th position. 0.1 up, invalidated the time. Commentator's curse, he was 0.1 heading 0.2, and he invalidated it. Christoph Peterson, 0.1 up as he makes his way around the circuit. And Daniel De Villiers, 0.1 up on his personal best. So is Kieran Patterson. Not often that we get to see Kieran Patterson sitting out of the usual top 10 at this point. He is going and running down in 8th position. De Villiers and Peterson currently up on their times. Alan Patterson. Oh, Kieran off the circuit. Sorry, my bad. I don't know if I want to go and mention the other Patterson right now. Fellow commentator out on the track, Alan Patterson and Team Cap for the likes of PWSR, and it looks like he's invalidated his time as I said that. Sorry, Alan. Guys, he's getting helping out the toe with Nico Zafaris on the back of him. Currently 0.1 up on his personal best. Ryan Barrington-Smith 0.3 up on his personal best. Richard Van Heed out on the track 0.2 up on his personal best. Dino Kier's time of 1:46.4 still stands at the top. Couple of drivers may be able to break it. Christoph Peterson not going to be able to do it. Going too far wide through Parabolica. That is him done and dusted. Nico Zafaris utilized the toe from Alan Patterson and now has the slingshot, but goes out wide. He's not going to be able to move up in the order there. Connor Bergstrom will be next to come across, along with Ryan Barrington-Smith and Jude Neville, to come across the line and possibly improve their positions. Connor Bergstrom runs out wide through Parabolica. That's him out of it. Ryan Barrington-Smith is able to improve. Jude Neville unable to do so. And unfortunately, that's how it goes. The Temple of Speed is all about getting that momentum and carrying it all the way through. Very few corners out on the track, so you got to make sure that they work like an absolute charm. Otherwise, you're going to be falling down the order and compromising some time. We saw that just in qualifying alone. Parabolica causing multiple drivers not able to move up. So, while our drivers get ready to rock and roll and we get ready to have some fun here at the beautiful circuit of Monza, gotta say, absolutely love it. But it is a worrisome. Talk to any driver in the pit and talk to any spectator. Best place to go and watch racing, turn 1. Best place to go and see all the chaos, turn 1. Worst place to go and dive for a pass on the start of the race, turn 1. And many, many drivers know this all too well. Whether you're starting in the front, whether you're starting at the back, whether you're starting at the middle, that concertina effect is very, very real. You will have side-by-side moments, and you will have to be careful. So a lot of people start braking at the 300-meter mark. Now, remember, these guys are braking closer to the 100-meter board on the brakes, sling it in for the right-hander, and then quick left-hander to get themselves going. 300 meters slows the whole trade down, and you tiptoe around in first gear, just trying to get yourself sorted before you start powering your way through. Long right-hander to just keep your foot in it before you get to the next chicanes that you have to deal with. Quick left, quick right, get the momentum through. We do see a lot of cars going and landing up, out braking themselves, losing a bit of time there, going too far wide out, dropping the wheel on the dirt, slows him down in the kitty litter before we get to the top of the circuit. Trembolero 1 and 2 that you've got to go and make your way around before you start heading down the hill. Now at the top, everyone's very concerned about the pit boards, and we do have Alan Patterson just before getting on the track, going and giving a big house there for a PWSR. Absolutely fantastic to see a fellow commentator going and racing out there, our pro division commentator. So still at the moment is the fastest sim racing ACC commentator in South Africa. Still holds that title, yet to be beaten by Tristan. So this is going to be a bit of an interesting one between the two. But it is going to be race on, folks, as we get ready for our round 2 of the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship here at Monza. And man, oh man, we are in for an exciting treat. Let me take you through who's starting where. Before that, let's look at the points. Brandon Kruger, first place. Dean Nokia, second. Christoph Peterson, third. De Villiers, fourth. Gerrit Bukes, fifth. Ryan Barrington-Smith, sixth. Michael Donaldson in seventh, followed by Mordred Klaassen, Loic Randebel, who unfortunately will be out of racing for quite some time due to major mechanical failure on his sim racing gear. So we wish him well, and we hope to see him on the track in due course. Conor Bergstrom is running in 10th, followed by Ruan Heineke, Jason Fallman, Mai Thermusa, Tian Elof, Tianis Buerta, Alan Patterson, Darius, Andre Sorodio, Chris Heineke, Darren Miller, Henry Platt, Paul Fenter, Johan Bluknout, Jaco Kutzer, Sean Skitter, Chris Wall, Kerry van Zel, Nico Safaris, Kieran Patterson, Vietia Buerta, Richard Van Eed, Ryan van der Reist, Tyler Humphries, Michael Schultz, SM Domingo, Jude Neville, and Ian Upton. Whew, that's the standings. But now that we talked about the standings, and we know who's leading, let's take a look at who's starting where. So, for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship at the beautiful Monza, we have got Dean Nokia, who will be leading out the pack, followed by Johan Bluknout. He will be powering his way through. Brandon Kruger running in third, followed by Tian Elof. Keep an eye on him. Very, very quick driver, and is in for the money here. Gerrit Bukes running right behind him, followed by Mordred Klaassen, Darren Miller, Kieran Patterson, Jason Farmer, Andre Sorodio, Mahiath Musa, Jude Neville, Michael Donaldson, Tyler Humphries, Daniel De Villiers, Gerry van Zyl is going to be a little bit further down. This is Christoph Peterson, followed by Gerry van Zyl, Jaco Kutzer, along with Ryan Barrington-Smith, Tianis Buerta, Sean Skitter, along with likes of Paul Fenter. Rich Van Eed will be lining up next to him, along with Alan Patterson lurking behind. Nico Savaris will be running right behind them, followed by Conor Bergstrom, Chris Heineke, Chris Wall, Henry Platt, Ruan Heineke, and rounding out the pack, Vietia Buerta. Good to see him back out on the track after a bit of time away from the racing last season. And he's now sporting a new set of colours. Will be looking to make his way through. So, Dean Nokia, first place to start it out. Something he's quite familiar with, but is going to have to deal with Johan Bluknout and Brandon Kruger working together to battle him through. And Tian Elof will be running a little bit further back. So hasn't got that major backup compared to the likes of Bluknout and Kruger being right there. Elof is in a man for himself right now, will be putting on the charge. And Mordred Klaassen is sticking in for the fight. He's going to be lining up next to Darren Miller. They will be standing to make sure that it's all go, go, go. So they will start moving side to side, double foul on the way through as they head to Parabolica, slowing the pace down. Everyone would be dragging those brakes. A quick acceleration drag. Try and build up heat into the brake pads, into the disc, into the rim, into the cocks, to the tire. Sticky tires, go. Plus, hard on the anchors. Remember, turn 1, very, very tight corner. You want to try get in there as quick as you can for Dean Nokia and Bluknout, where everyone else has got to be really careful for the huge Constantino effect that will come through. Starting in the middle of the grid is always a difficult one, as they all back it down. 70 kilometers an hour, getting ready to go. Dean Nokia and Bluknout, side by side they go. Kruger and Elof going to battle it out. Mordred Klaassen will be looking to jump his way forward, dealing with Gerrit Bukes. And then the PWSR cars, and Mordred Klaassen's getting a phenomenal launch, but Dean Nokia out of nowhere, out of the blocks, is really going and giving it absolute horns at this point. Breaking away early from the field, and now it's Bluknout and Kruger side by side. A bit of a defense move between the two. Go and hold everyone back, but that's going to force Kruger out wide and leave him a little bit of a sitting duck for Elof, as we do have a bit of contact further back with Jaco Kutzer. It looks like all rubbing and racing, nothing too bad, as the two Omnius Gaming Mustangs are taking up majority of the circuit. This is where Elof is going to try and peer in for the inside. He backed out of it. Gerrit Bukes looks for the inside attack on Mordrake Larsens. Wasn't able to get it done. And now Kieran Patterson will start to put the pressure on. Really winding it up now. Looks at the inside. Try to bait and switch there. Didn't quite work out. As we do have a couple of yellow flags coming in. And it's Christoph Peterson, Paul Venter, and Jaco Kutzer. My heavens. Nico Safaris, Paul Venter, Gerry van Zyl involved in that one. What on earth happened that the two Logistical Nightmare Racing landed up in such a horrific knock? So Richard van Heed's on the inside. Okay, there's nothing wrong there. And they're coming onto the anchors. This is where it's going to get a bit tight. As Paul trying to slow the Honda down. Oh no! One of the Team Triad cars getting caught out by Christoph Peterson, who then rotates around and have Paul Venter into the door. Not quite ideal. And the two teammates landing up, coming to blows. Dino Kier, Brandon Kruger getting a bit of fresh air, but it's Blicknote to deal with Elof at this current point as they fight it out for third place. Nose to tail racing. Elof is going to have the advantage of being a little bit more nimble, but he needs the inside line to make it stick. So he's going to try go around the outside, push a little bit further, gets a little bit unstable under braking, and now he just got to hold it. Nice on the apex. Force out wide, and there we go. Elof into third, but now this is going to give the slip for Blicknote. Mordrake Larsens immediately trying to go onto that attack as well to join back into the fight, as Elof is a sitting duck, so he's going to have to go to the middle of the circuit here, be a little bit more cautious, guard the inside line, darts back to the middle just to try and line himself up. And this is Blicknote with a lot of drive out of the corner. So does Mordrake Larsens, who had to back out of it with no room to go. So Blicknote tried to look for an attack. Oh, Gerrit Bukes completely missing the corner. And he is down the order as Patterson and Millis working together. And Serodio up on the inside. Got the apex. Going to run him into the AstroTurf. Beautifully done. Serodio going to have a little bit of momentum here to go side by side. Oh, a bit of contact once again with Gerrit Bukes is into the wall. Bukes is into the wall. And it looks like it is just an absolute spin. Jude Neville. Oh, man, this is just brutal. Nowhere to go. A lot of drivers still keeping the power in. My heavens. That was just a nightmare. Let's see if we can take a look from the helicam. So, bit of contact, led him into the grass, spun it, and then it was Jude Neville in first impact. PWSR getting away. Oh, one of the Ferraris getting taken out there. Ryan Barrington-Smith avoiding some of the problems. Sean Skitter landed up getting knocked. Alan Patterson had to find his way through. There is a lot of broken cars. Man, oh man. Richard van Heed is part of that. And here comes the walking wounded into the pit. Jude Neville, Gerrit Bukes. Looks like that is one of the Omnius Gaming cars. Michael Donaldson, Alan Patterson, Daniel De Villiers into the pits as well. We have got a lot of second-hand GT3s, and I hate to say it, we've only got 16 that are still rolling on track, needing to go around. Jason Farber is going still, along with Tennis Buertzer, so they're still out there. But there is a substantial amount of broken GT3s that are now in the pits, needing some major states of repair. I know there's going to be a huge amount of work being done. It's a huge impact. And hopefully you should have a little bit more game audio coming through. Apologies for that, as we had a little bit of technical difficulty. And Monza going and claiming a few victims in that huge accident. And just a little bit of contact, a little bit of drive on the grass, turned round, and it was an absolute slaughter fest that we got to see from quite a few of the cars. See if we can go back and see from a different view. This is from Connor Bergstrom's point of view. helmet cam just to give us a bit of an understanding of what he arrived on. And oh my heavens, one car off and under the bridge. Where to go, where to go? Oh, side-on contact. Just nowhere to go. And that was pretty much what they arrived on. An absolute death of Monza. A few cars that are a bit broken and bent, but all the drivers should be able to get their cars back out. I know the teams have come with quite a few spares. Johan Bloknoot out and going, dealing with Mordre Claessens at the moment. The Omnius Gaming organization with the Pandacity organization. A little bit of contact between the two, with Bloknoot getting the better drive out, and Mordre Claessens a little bit of lift, a quick flash of lights as an apology after that little bit of contact, but I'm sure that there's going to be a little bit of a concern there of running a bit close. That little, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on you because that's allowed Kieran Patterson and Darren Miller to join the party and be around one another. 8th place, a little bit further back, is Andres Rodio. He's pulling Mahayath Musa along, so the two PWSR cars are together, along with the 2 Project Vapor cars to pull themselves together. So, interesting times indeed. And the first set of pit stops have been done by a couple of drivers. Jason Farmer leading out those that have completed their first pit stop. It was a quick splash and dash. So he got into the pits, did a splash and dash, got back out. And that might have actually been the saving grace for him, because along with Tiernis Buerta, Ruben Heineke, Chris Heineke, same thing. Daniel De Villiers, we saw coming in later, did the earlier stops to get themselves sorted out. Christoph Peterson also was an earlier stop, and then we got the accidents that started just rocketing down the field. So a few cars, a little bit bent and broken, as Patterson dealing with Mordre Claessens at the moment. And these two have got a bit of a history, and both wearing purple, ironically enough. But the Pandacity, the Angry Pandas, are going to be doing everything they can with a little bit of a sponsor infiltrate to try and sneak into those top positions. We'll have to deal with PWSR, a well-known brand in the RaceFace and sim racing community here in South Africa. Also, for those that don't know, PWSR had, I think it's still being done by Alan Patterson, button boxes made and steerings being made. Don't quote me, but I think it's still going. You should be experiencing some audio in our live feed, so please let me know. There should be audio coming through. Now, looking at the virtual board here that we've got, there's a good bit of audio coming through. And side by side, oh, Kieran Patterson and Mordre Claessens very, very close to one another and going right over the curbs, battling as hard as they can as they fight it out. Claessens now in a world of trouble as he's got to battle it out, and we see Kieran closing up at a rate or not. Looks for the inside line, couldn't quite get it. I mean, this is just a huge running through the order. So we are getting some feedback from the pits. Jude Neville being one of the drivers to go and give us a bit of feedback from pits, saying 5 minutes worth of damage to the car to try and get themselves sorted out. So hopefully they can get that car back out on the track. And I understand, like, 5 minutes is a terrible time out there. Oh, as we see side by side, Kieran got the inside line and has fed into it, with Mordre Claessens not backing down. This is something we've come to see as we see Garrett Bukes back out onto the track. The Stinger Racing Mustang going and getting himself going. Oh, a little bit of a touch and tail there between Mordre Claessens and Kieran Patterson. Nice save on both their parts. But Mordre, very defensive driving and going and just getting himself a little bit twisted around there. But we'll have to keep an eye on him. He is a very defensive driver. Kieran is patient to a point. We've seen it many times where he's able to keep that pressure on, keep screwing it in. But eventually, there's that break that happens and he starts putting the hammer down and gets a very aggressive, put the nose in, falls through off a line, and will get the hammer down when he needs to. So I think we may start to see a little bit of that old Kieran Patterson coming into play, but Mordre Claessens, a young gun, dives up on the inside, beautifully held, and now lost out a little bit of drive coming out, and the Aston Martin looking a bit more put together This is Mordred Claessen's worst nightmare, to see the likes of Kieran Patterson hot on his tail as they make their way through. And Kieran lines himself up on the outside of Parabolica. Mordred Claessen's has got the inside line. He goes out and a cutback starting to happen. Is it going to work out for Kieran Patterson? He's got the drive side by side, and Mordred tucks in right behind him to ensure that he can keep the pressure on. A little bit of a bump draft between the two. Kieran getting very defensive, middle of the circuit. He's going to have the advantage going into turn 1. Going to be hot on the brakes. This is amazing racing action between the two. And what a drive. Kieran and Mordred Claessen's. Oh, never mind with a little bit of a turn there. Kieran saves it. But Claessen's got right onto the back and caused a bit of a squirrely moment. And now Darren Miller will have an opportunity as Kieran can start slowing the pace down a little bit, bring it back into the fray of things, and Mordred Claessen's immediately hot on the brakes, tries to bring it through. You can see the Porsche getting a little bit unsettled. Now Miller's into the fray. This is Claessen's worst nightmare. Not having that little bit of backup is going to start to impact him a little bit as Miller comes off the power, and Kieran just giving it everything he's got, as we do see Mahath Musa is going to try and make his way past. He wants to close up on this fight, seeing what's going on the circuit. Now remember, they do have 2 mandatory pit stops, and these two are working their tires to its carcass at this point. And the question is, how long can they keep pushing this hard? As, oh, a little bit of a quick jump there. Mordred Claessen's keeping the pressure on, not going and giving it any rest at all. Unfortunately, over each curb, just landed up with a huge problem. Jude Neville still waiting to get out of the pits and needing to go and fight it out. So hopefully they can get Jude Neville's car out onto the track as soon as possible to rejoin the race. Leading out the pack, though, is Brandon Kruger with Dean Nokia running 1.3 seconds behind. Tian Elof going and trying to keep ahead of Johan Blicknote. He's making up a lot of ground here to try and close up the gap, knowing that he's got Kieran Patterson starting to close up at a rate of knots. Looking at the time, so Blicknote still running faster lap times, but remember, Kieran was just battling out with Mordred Claessen, so expect that time to start dropping a little bit towards it all. Mordred within a second of Kieran Patterson, Darren Miller 1.8 seconds, Mahath Musa now closing up the gap as well, so expect him and Andre Sorodio to come into the fray of things. Ryan Barrington-Smith also trying to make his climb. He's currently sitting in 10th place with his teammate Chris Wall in 11th. Nico Savaris down in 12th place, 1.6 seconds behind, with Vietia Buerta dealing with Paul Fenter closing up the gap between them. Close race happening out on track though. Blicknote and Tian Elof at the moment as they 0.3 seconds, bringing them the closest fight currently out on track. And let's see how it's going to work out here. Blicknote knows that the Mustang has a bit of an understeering moment where Elof knows where to put in the fight. And a bit of a moment for Brandon Kruger. Oh, once again landing into the dirt. And take a look. Brandon Kruger, Dino Kier, Tian Elof, and Blicknote all within striking distance of their respective top positions. So they have an opportunity here. Dino Kier closed up quite a bit on the 87. And he's looking to try and fight it out as he sees Brandon Kruger. Very, very wide line. That is definitely not going to be doing him any favors, and Dean knows that for a fact. Tian Elof and Blicknote keeping more of a tighter line to ensure that they can try and push themselves a little bit more. They are working that front right a little bit hard by doing so, so they've got to be very, very cautious of that if they're looking at double stinting tires, as Blicknote keeps onto the back of Elof. Vietia Buerta dealing with the likes of Paul Fenter. 2 logistical nightmare racing. And it does look like Paul Fenter up the inside of Vietia Buerta. Vietia tucks in behind with his teammate and possibly might go on the attack. Not so much. He's actually slowing up a bit. So I do think Vietia Buerta has decided that Paul Fenter's got that little bit of momentum rather to pull him along and try and bring it a little bit closer. So a bit of talking there to try and close up to Nico Zafaris. But they've got to be careful. Henry Platt is starting to make up a bit of ground behind them as well. Michael Donaldson back into the pits, so he's getting himself sorted out. And unfortunately, we are getting news having to retire the car due to urgent work issue coming up. So unfortunately, due to needing to sort out some work, he's having to retire the car. And it's a bit sad to see the race turning for Michael Donaldson after being quite confident around the circuit. He has been in some difficult races, and that's a bit of a blow. That is really, really a blow. If work does allow him, though, I would love to see him getting back behind the wheel, as we do have Jason Farmer. Ouch! Not looking so good there for the Griffin Sim Racing, and he landed up with a bit of a problem. Let's try and take a look what happened here and see how this all worked out. So coming up to the next chicane, is going to be getting ready to climb on the anchors. Ferrari looking all neat. Oh, just lost the rear and into the wall. That was all she wrote, going and breaking the front of the car. Oh, man. So he is going to be out of the running there. And we'll have to wait out that little bit of time. So a bit of a sad, sad moment of state of affairs there. Tyre Nieloff holding third place. Blucknote still keeping on the charge between them. Chris Wall has got Nico Safaris, though, up on the inside. Dives on the brakes, moves on up, and beautiful launch there. Chris Wall trying to come back at him, getting a little bit of momentum with the Hurricane GT3 Evo. Not quite the way he wanted. Chris Heineke up against Daniel de Villiers. De Villiers really down the order after his pit stop, and now trying to make up at the time. Chris Heineke is going to be giving it everything he's got, as we did see Jason Farmer just pull into the pits after having his tremendous accident trying to keep it all together. And Chris Heineke going up against his former teammate, which is always quite a thing. The Griffin Sim Racing team, Chris Heineke, did start out in PWSR, switched over to the GSRT, and so far has been making some proper headway in the world of sim racing. So obviously quite a bit going into the Griffin Sim Racing team to dial in those cars. Really got them on the edge, though, looking at how the likes of Jason Farmer's car's gone. It's been a little bit of a glass cannon here at Monza from last night to tonight. It either works well, or when it does go wrong, it ends up as a bit of a catastrophic. But Jason Farmer will be serving his second pit stop, which means he's able to keep on going. Rich Van Heat, same thing. He served his second pit stop. So he should be going and carrying on with the rest of the race right to the end with 1 hour and 1 minute to go. It's going to be cutting it rather fine in terms of a tank. You're going to have to start playing with the engine mapping settings to just go and change things up a little bit to ensure that you can get that bit of momentum through. Fastest lap of the race is held by Daniel de Villiers, though, down in 18th position, while our leaders, Brandon Kruger, Dino Kier, along with Tyre Nieloff, Jan Blucknote, Mordred Claessens, Kieran Patterson, Darren Miller, who is trying to keep ahead, and he's getting a bit of support from the number 100 that's on the back of him, of Alan Patterson, to just try and keep him going. Alan playing a little bit more of a defensive role, and also just ensuring that he can keep the pace up. Also getting pulled along does help out for his race, so mutual beneficial between the two. And both PWSR cars allowing a little bit more of a forgiving run between them. So always great to see Blucknote onto the back of Tyre Nieloff, and Nieloff going and keeping a concerted effort as he makes his way around, gently on the throttle to bring the revs up, not wanting to go too high. Did put a wheel on the dirt, got a little bit unsettled there, but he's able to go through 5th into 6th, and now it's going to be going all the way through. Brake for Parabolica, down into 3rd, carry the momentum, and feed the power back on, going a little bit wide. A lot of the newer drivers don't utilize that far end of the circuit and don't bring it close to the pit wall. It actually saves you quite a bit of time and cuts the track down, so he's got to keep a very, very close eye on that. Mordred Claessens dealing with the likes of the Aston Martin, very quick in a straight line, with Mordred in the Porsche 911 992 GT3R does have a huge run as well between the two. So they are absolutely fighting tooth and nail at the moment. Great to see some amazing battles still happening out on the track now that we've gone way past the 30-minute mark, and we're starting to see a little bit more fights kicking in. As Tyre Nieloff, defensive inside line, will have the apex, but now going to have a little bit of a poor drive on the exit. This is where Blicknote is going to dive for that inside line. Second guess it though, as Tian started putting the pressure onto the inside line as they reach the top. And Blicknote, instead of going on the attack, which will compromise him at the top here, he rather waited out, as we do see on the PWSR. And that looked like Dino Kier going and landing in the dirt a little bit. And this is going to bring the others a bit closer and go and cause Brandon Kruger to break away. Elof guarding the inside line, switches to middle. Blicknote still stuck on the outside. Did not move his line. He is quite settled where he is and doesn't want to move around too much, seeing that Elof is getting rather unsteady as they battle their way through. Mordrake Claessens and Kieran Patterson going and landing into the dirt. Mordrake switching to the outside. Going to try and hold a defensive. Will have Kieran, as Blicknote was also trying to take a look on the inside line. Kieran not able to get the drive. It's going to really have to wring the neck of that Aston Martin on the exit, utilizing all the circuit possible to try and catch up to Mordrake Claessens, who still holds a very, very defensive inside line. Down towards T1 though. Is this going to be a change? Blicknote looks to the outside. Oh, very close. Light touch between the two. A bit of sharing of red and green. And talk about going and trying to make a little bit of a Valentine's Day gift between the two of them. But absolutely phenomenal fighting. Mordrake Claessens still keeping it at Kieran Patterson. Darren Miller dealing with Mahath Musa. Now Patterson is out of the fray here, and Musa has a chance to go for it. Andre Sorodio is into the pits. So this is going to be a bit of an interesting one, as 7th and 8th, Darren Miller and Mahath Musa have come into a bit of a fight. And that looks to be Alan Patterson actually starting to open up the gap. So he was trying to provide a little bit of a tow, and unfortunately it didn't quite work out for Miller, as Musa is on the back of him through this fight. So this is going to be a bit of a wild one here for Mahath Musa. We do get Andre Sorodio coming out ahead of Tianis Puerta into turn 1, so he's going to be trying to hold as many positions as possible. Does make him first of everyone that's completed their first pit stop, and he only spent 5.7 seconds in the box. That is just to put fuel in, so he is second stinting those tires. And a lot of these drivers thinking that they can go the long way through. Mordrake Claessens. Oh! Claessens into the wall. And that is going to be Patterson on by. Here comes Miller and Musa with the likes of Ryan Barrington-Smith as well, just for an extra bit of flavor there, as Miller holds the inside line. Musa's going to go around the outside. A little bit of understeer coming in from Miller. Wheel-to-wheel contact between Musa and himself. Both able to keep it going, though. Great to see. Barrington-Smith will have Mordrake Claessens trying to make up a bit of time, but he has got damage on the car, so don't expect him to be on a full attack mode as yet. Blicknote getting right up and sniffing the rear of Tian Elof. He can smell that F-gas coming out of the bagpipes, and it really had a great run there. Kieran Patterson going and keeping ahead. Mahath Musa ahead of Miller, who gets a little bit unsteady on the throttle, and will have to try and battle his way through. Fight out for third, though. Elof constantly has got Blicknote's number. He knows exactly where to position that car and ensures that he is staying in for the fight for the long run here. It's going to be a huge, huge fight for third. Who's going to pull the trigger on getting into the pits first? Well, I think it's going to be rather close. Oh, he has Ryan Barrington-Smith missing out the chicane, trying to battle out with Mordrake Claessens. It was actually a little bit of side-by-side contact there. Let's quickly take a look at it, as Ryan Barrington-Smith was ahead of Mordrake Claessens heading into the corner. Now, I've got a funny feeling Mordrake went and looked for the inside line. Oh, late on the anchors, and just keeping Ryan Barrington-Smith off that apex. A little bit of contact between the two, but nothing hugely devastating for Ryan Barrington-Smith, as he immediately gets back onto the attack, onto Mordrake Claessens, who would be a little bit unsettled in the straight line here and concentrating on a run. So huge, huge turn of events for a lot of our drivers. Ryan Barrington-Smith trying to go a little bit more, as you can see, as we jump on board. Outside line, couldn't get it sorted out, looks for a cutback. Mordrake keeping very tight on that inside line, and is just keeping himself going at the moment. Is that Garrett Bukes that's behind? Yes, it is. So Garrett Bukes of the Stingers lying in 28th position. And it can tell you how much drive he's actually losing to the guys. Listen to the lift that he's having to take to try and avoid running into this fight. Now, he is a blue flag. He's can get on by, but then he needs to disappear rather quickly out of this fight. And he's not wanting to take that chance. Blicknote losing out a bit of momentum and gets caught out through the corner. But Elof has lost out that position quite substantially. The number 33 not able to get the drive, and Blicknote managing to absolutely grab the position with both horns. Paul Venter having a little bit of a problem as he had a scuffle with Richard van Heerde. Door-to-door contact between the two, both coming from a real-life racing background. Paul Venter in single-seater racing, he's not afraid to go and battle at wheel-to-wheel. And Richard van Heerde racing numerous tin tops all the way through to the smaller stuff like the NX Legends. He's got a substantial background in tin top racing, not much in single-seaters. So good to see that the two going and trying out. Blicknote going and keeping ahead of likes of Tian Elof. But how is this going to work as they run right into Parabolica right at the last, stomping on the anchors. Blicknote keeping it very, very tight though as they battle their way through in contact. Mordred Claessens and Darren Miller both coming to blows with one another. The 91 and the number 10 will have Nico Zafaris straight lining both, well, straight lining Mordred Claessens, not close enough. And Paul Venter, oh no, he's got it wrong. Rich van Heerde gets it going, and that was Paul Venter all by himself. Blicknote losing out the position to Elof. Okay, there is so much going on here. Let's find out what happened to Mordred Claessens in his fight. Let's start there, just to get an understanding of what happened between himself and Miller. Okay, so we are taking a look at Mordred Claessens in the Porsche 992 in the purple with the likes of Miller in the front. Thriller Miller getting a little bit unsettled. Oh, man, he was just a passenger in his own car. And that T-bone was not ideal circumstances and just laid a little bit in for Mordred Claessens, who took the hit. Paul Venter's in the pits, Mordred Claessens in the pit, Nico Zafaris in the hit, in the pits after his one. And I think Miller will be getting a bit of repair work on his car. And I can't actually see him. No, he is. He's in 8th. He's still going, regardless, despite the damage. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Obviously deciding that the damage is not as substantial as it is. Oh, as we do see that look to be Kieran Patterson going a little bit farming, trying to catch up to Blicknote and Tian Elof. So much coming out of the corner that you can just get it really upset. Throw himself around. And considering Patterson holds the fastest lap time of the race, he is a considerable force to deal with right now. As Elof and Blicknote still going to war with one another. This is our closest fight on circuit. Next up will be Andres Rodio, along with Tienes Buerta and De Villiers, Ruben Heineke and Chris Heineke going at each other. They are 0.8 of a second, 0.1 second, 1.1. But closest fight, it has to be down to Blicknote and Elof, who are still in a phenomenal fight. But leading out the pack of those that have completed their first pit stop is Andre Sorodio, who's broken away from Tienes Buerta, who's now got Daniel De Villiers on the back of him. And De Villiers looks to the inside line. He did really do a little bit of a bump draft all the way through. And Tienes Buerta got a little bit unsettled, but raced out of it, keeping the power on. I've got to say, we've seen some really hectic moments, big crashes, but we've also seen some very, very fine racing. Miller into the pit, so he's now getting a bit of work done to his car. I've got to take my hats off to the Pro Division, and, well, not only to the Pro Division, the Pro-Am and the AMs have shown they are able to fight it out tooth and nail with some of the closest racing out there and really going and battling it out. And we've got Michael Donaldson supporting the drivers now. He is out. We saw him having to retire the car due to work, but good to see he's still tuning in to go and keep an eye out for his teammates. And it's always great to see the drivers really moving forward and supporting one another. I mean, this is what we've gotten used to, and absolutely fantastic to see the support coming in. Whether you're in a team, out of the team, everyone gets to know each other. We've always got to say, it's a bit of a niche community in terms of sim racing. It's forever growing, but we do have that support system coming into play and being a part of watching some phenomenal racing out here. I mean, virtual cars, real racing, that is for certain. Andre Serodio dealing with Daniel de Villiers, as de Villiers up on the inside of Serodio, fighting it out side by side they go, and Serodio just trying to hang it together. Oh, beautiful save as he loses a bit of momentum. Tiernas Puerta going and taking that position. Serodio hung on for dear life and cross arm all the way. I actually want to go in car. This is the helmet cam, folks, and take a look at the cross arm to try and keep us together. De Villiers on the inside, running out a bit wide, giving a bit of momentum to one another and a bit of space, and got it a little bit unsettled. The rear comes in, cross arm, and brings it back. Absolutely stunning. And Tiernas Puerta, not one to stay in a slouch, absolutely going and fighting it out. Tremendous, tremendous stuff for it. We may have a very interesting run where Michael Donaldson might be able to rejoin the race towards the end. I'd love to see that, so fingers crossed, Michael. Want to see you get across that line. Much like all the drivers, we want to see every single driver get across the line and finish under their own steam. I mean, that is what racing's about. That's what we love to see. That never quit attitude coming in. Talking about never quit, well, there's a couple of drivers that need to quit going and being quite stubborn on their pit stops. Brandon Kruger, Dean Nokia, Tian Elof, Johan Blichnote, Kieran Patterson, Mahiath Musa, Ryan Barrington-Smith, Chris Wall, and Henry Platt, along with Vietia Buerta. Still needing to get their pit stops done. Paul Fenter right on the back of the likes of Vietia as he tries to defend. Tyler Humphries all over the back of him. Oh, the Honda's gone. Turned round, and that's it. Lost the rear over the curbing, and Tyler Humphries just a little nudge on the rear allowed that Honda to turn around and venture off. And unfortunately, that seems to be the weekend for the likes of Paul Fenter. Round and round he goes. Been getting quicker and quicker in the car, but it is that knife edge. He was warned by Christoph Peterson. It's an incredible car, but there's a very, very fine line before it is fast or a problem. And at the moment, Paul Fenter trying to be super aggressive on his cornering, gets it unsettled, bottoms the car out, gets it twisted around, that's it. Done and dusted. So he's got to be rather careful there. I want to point out, though, a driver that we haven't spoken about for a bit, down in 23rd, Jason Farmer. Driver that has been into the pits twice is now out on the track circulating for the rest of the 46 minutes. He must not pull into the pits. Paul Fenter going to do the same. Garrett Bukes, who we saw landing up in a bit of a problem earlier, he's down in 27th position. Still needs to get his pit stop done and dusted. Now, we did see him go into the pits. Hang on, he was stopped for 296 seconds, so that must have been some serious damage to his car. Or as the driver landed up, disconnecting and reconnecting into this race. So he is 83 seconds away from Richard van Heerden. I got a funny feeling he landed up disconnecting and is rejoining the race. Rich van Heerden has got a stop-go 32nd that he had to serve, so he's done a pit stop plus a stop-go 32nd that he had to serve at the same time. So he's got one more stop to go. Jason Farmer and Paul Fenter, the only two drivers that have done all their pit stops. Tian Elof, first of our top 10 to get in and out of the pits. Where he comes out is going to be the question. Henry Platt gets on by, as we do see the Aston Martin going and standing on the gas now. Tian Elof, interesting one, folks. Was stopped in the box for 14.2 seconds. No tires taken. He is double stinting these tires to get themselves going. So it's either going to be changing tires at the end of the race, or he's going to be running these tires for the entirety of an hour and 20 minutes. Now, with the conditions at the moment, 23 degrees track temperature, aggressive over curbs, really pushing the car hard, I do think these tires are starting to see that wear and tear coming in, and the team are watching very, very carefully to see if they can see any degrading of the tires, and are going to be telling him, listen, back off those curbs, don't get as aggressive as you've been, you're starting to wear it down. Kieran Patterson out of this is going as a react to Elof. Good run there. It's going to be very interesting to see how that turns out, as Elof will be closer to Patterson. Mordred Claessen's trying to make up some time. He's had a little bit of an ops track problem, and so does the 31 of Richard van Heerd, who is off circuit. What happened to Richard? Okay, so Mordred Claessen's is to the right of him, trying to get on by. Rich van Heerd trying to just keep it going. He is blue flagged. Oh, man. I'm going to need another view on that one. I'm definitely going to need another view on that one. That was a little bit... So Richard's getting himself going. He spun off again. Understandably for a bit of contact. I want to go to the number 10. That's Mordred Claessen's. Let's go to helmet cam. So Rich van Heerd's ahead of him. Gets a poor exit. And trying to continue the drive. Very close racing between the two. A little bit of contact. Oh, tucked in behind, and I don't think he realized he was that close to Richard's tail, and landed up, twisting the car. Rich van Heerd going to be getting into the pits, serve his pit stop. Man, I hope he keeps going. I really hope he keeps going. That must be taking out a lot of wind out of his sails, but I honestly hope he keeps going. Daniel de Villiers has completed all his pit stops, so he is also back out and going. That leaves Tyre Elof sitting in 7th position at current. That was a bit of a brought. It's too close to tell. From our views, we'll leave it to the stewards and take it from there. But from what I could see on that top aerial shot, and from what we saw in car, is Mordred then pulled back, trying to get underneath the wing and get a little bit of momentum to try and slingshot past Rich van Heerd, and unfortunately the nose was just that fraction too far. Gets a little bit of rubber banding, and that's it, done and dusted. I don't think it was malicious intent at all, but it's definitely one of those unfortunate moments. So Rich van Heerd is into the pits. He's getting that pit stop done and dusted. He's got a bit of repair work on the car. I really hope that they can get that car back out on track. I know they can. They've got spares for it. But Richard is definitely going to have to take 2 breaths and bring himself back towards himself after that, after having just an unfortunate race going on. At the moment, Henry Platz and Viertia Buerta have not gone and done their stop, and they are in a bit of a negative situation with Tyre Elof, who is running in 7th at the moment. The gentleman is running 1:47.2 as his best. Last lap was a 48 as he was trying to get himself up to scratch. Let's see how he's going to go, as Brandon Kruger and Blichtnote both pulling into the pits to serve their pit stop. Tianus Buerta and Alan Patterson are getting into the pits. That means Darren Miller is going to get past his teammate, and will continue on the drive. Dean Nokia out in first, with Mahath Musa in second, Ryan Barrington-Smith in third. And we will see these drivers going and pushing themselves that little bit more up the road. How close is this fight going to be? Ruan Heineke and Chris Heineke racing with one another. Good to see the Griffin Sim Racing team, the 2 Heinekes, really going and battling it out. They will have Kieran Patterson for company at this point, as they really push themselves that little bit more up the road to ensure that they stand for the fight. And I've got to say, big props. Rich Van Heat still out on the track. Good to see him out there, despite everything. I mean, the man's in 27th position. He's been in the pits 3 times. 1 stop go, 2 pitting. He's had multiple damage to that car. Still sticking it out there. Go, 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 buddy. Garrett Bukes as well. Had a tough time with his car, and he is still out on track. Man, oh man, I honestly can't get over the fact that drivers still stick it out through it all, and I love it. Absolutely love it to get to the checker flag there, folks. Let's give them a bit of support, but we are going to take a look at Brandon Kruger and Andre Serodio fighting out for position. Both have done their first pit stop, and you can immediately see Serodio constantly putting a bit of pressure on Brandon Kruger, but has got Jason Farmer sitting on his tail, and Jason Farmer will be going and talking to his teammates that are behind the little Aston Martin that is cruising there, and will be keeping a very close eye on it. So the Heinekers will be getting told, this is what's happening, guys. You need to start giving it everything you got. Serodio's kind of in a little bit of a problem here, as he loses the drive to Brandon Kruger, and Jason Farmer looking towards the inside line. Is this going to be a quick swap around? Is Jason Farmer going to try it? No, it was close though. It really, really looked like Jason Farmer was trying to take that position. And I'm wondering if that wouldn't be a better opportunity if Jason Farmer's got that little bit of grunt to him to try and get a little bit closer to the likes of Brandon Kruger. Might be an opportunity, but then you do risk yourself to see the 2 Heinekers that are absolutely fighting it out between each other. Chris Heineke getting the pass done on Ruan Heineke, and Kieran Patterson now coming back at him at a rate of knots. The Aston Martin driver is going to do everything he can. Ruan Heineke pulls into the pits just to really confuse the situation. Tyler Humphries going and fighting it out. Oh, with Darren Miller. And that is a little bit of rubbing his racing between the two into the curb and riding along. But Darren Miller ultimately winning that victory, as Tyler Humphries will need to keep going. Now, Darren Miller has done all these pit stops, so the last thing he wants to do is damage these tires. He wants to keep going, but he hasn't swapped tires in his pit stop, so this is still an old set on here that he is trying to fight his way through. Now taking some time. Kerry Funzel into the pits, Ruan Heineke going into the pits as well. So we're starting to see different strategies coming into play. Mordre Clarkson seeing 1 more stop, Tyler Humphries 1 more stop, Sean Skitter, and Claire Bukes with 2 pit stops needing to go on his run. So he's still got a lot to go in for. Mahath Musa dives into the pits, and Ryan Barrington-Smith following suit. And will Tian Elof go and get his final pit stop done and dusted out of a react situation here, or will he keep going? I've got a funny feeling the team is highly considering to do a bit of a react, try and get it underneath, get that pit stop done and launch his way through, considering Brandon Kruger and Virtia Buerta are fighting out. Kieran Patterson and Chris Heineke are fighting it out between one another. So they are absolutely going, locking horns. Brandon Kruger got the outside line. Virtia Buerta is going to have the inside. He's going to try go for it, and Brandon Kruger didn't even give him a choice there. Said, I am taking this line, and Virtia Buerta long since gone in that run. Chris Heineke losing a little bit of drive as Kieran Patterson gets on by. So Chris Heineke is going to dive, probably aiming for the pits, and does so. Yep, aiming for the pits. Had that little bit of a drive, held back the likes of Patterson for quite some time, and then was able to do a switch around so Patterson can't react to it. Dean Nokia, only driver in our top 3 needing to do his first pit stop. Henry Platt in our top 5 will be needing to do his first pit stop. Andre Serodio battling it out with Griffin Sim Racing. That is Jason Farmer going to have a go. And I'm not quite sure if this is one you want to fight out for. And Serodio, second guessing the idea here, gets into the toe and pulls himself along. So he didn't want to fight it out with the likes of Jason Farmer too much, because that is going to bring Kieran Patterson into the attack. He's going to be wanting to try and force Jason Farmer to pick up the pace to ensure he goes into it. And Jason Farmer is chasing down fellow teammates of PWSR, Darren Miller, who is not too far up the road, fighting it out with Tyler Humphries at this point. So there is a serious chance that Jason Farmer might actually have the better advantage here, considering he is in the chase, where the likes of Serodio will be keeping a very close eye on how this goes. He's got the toe, which gives him the benefit and protection down the straights. And now Alan giving the toe to his own son to let them go by. So Kieran got the toe, looking for Parabolica, gets the dive. Alan Patterson not going to fight him out there, gave him the toe to just try and slingshot him through. And Kieran is going to keep on the power, not going to go for the pit lane. He is going to continue out still once again. So Dino Kier, Henry Platt needing to get their first pit stop done. Everyone else has done their first pit stop or have completed all their pit stops. And in the case of Daniel de Villiers at the moment is in a huge fight. So some incredible racing out there from all our drivers. And I can tell you that the crowd is absolutely going wild. Reginald going straight back to the books, giving some ideas of what's been going on and revisiting the accident that's gone on. Talking about a cyber touch or a net code. For many people that aren't too familiar with that, so to speak, that is when the sim is trying to work out where you're going to be and your competition's going to be, and with a little bit of latency in between, it's trying to preempt where you're going to be. So the game is trying to preempt where you're going to be when the latency catches up. Unfortunately, that does land up with netcode. Generally, you see cars phasing into the back of one another and have a little bit of a rubber band effect. In other words, the cars move forward and move back. That is that latency coming in, lands up with a bit of netcode. Sometimes you see a little bit of daylight in between. Oh, Henry Platt, though, has a whole lot of daylight as he misses the corner. And that is going to allow Tyler Humphries to get on by. Darren Miller's going to have a go. But Brandon Kruger has now got an opportunity at Henry Platt just ahead of him. So Miller, who's doing everything he can. Brandon Kruger very late on the brakes there. Didn't quite help him out. But Miller trying to go around the outside of Henry Platt as Dean Lokier into the pits. Henry Platt is into the pits. And that means Brandon Kruger will move his way up into first place. Has he? Oh, no, he hasn't. He hasn't. Dean Lokier has done enough to hold that top spot, as we do have a bit of problem for Paul Fenter. Oh no, once again touching the grass and gets the tail turned round on the Honda NSX. Getting spun around and is not going and enjoying the music. He is definitely going to be sick and tired of being on that little ride for quite some time, and we'll be looking forward to the weekend. As Kieran Patterson closing up on Andre Serodio at the moment. Viertier Buerta into the pits. Conor Bergstrom into the pits. Henry Platt's out of the pits. Christoph Peterson's into the pits. So great to see it all. I'm glad I was able to convey what you were busy saying for the likes of Reginald. I'm really glad that I could convey it. I was a bit concerned that I couldn't get it done. But stop time for Dean Lokier coming in from our resident alien that is now racing in the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Sprint Series in iRacing. And I think he is racing as well in the Supercars vs. M2s, likes of Johan Bago Krobler going and supporting. Dean Lokier was stopped in the box for 16.9 seconds. Which means he's on an old set of tires trying to fight it out. Brandon Kruger, how's this one for a bit of it? He was stopped in the box for 34.9 seconds. That means tires and fuel. So he's on a new set of boots there with one pit stop to go. Half an hour left in this race. Dean Lokier has painted himself into a horrible little corner to try and make his way through. Paul Fenter coming out of the pits after getting himself sorted out. A bit of WD-40 put in, a bit of Q20 on the joints after getting a whole bunch of dust on it. So he is now back out on the track. Our top 9 need to complete their final pit stop, but that does leave it open for this man, Daniel de Villiers, who is out in a huge chase. Conor Bergstrom dealing with Tyler Humphries at the moment. They 0.3 of a second to one another. Chris Wall onto the back of Henry Platt. And it is going to be a fighter, logistical nightmare racing. Chris Wall against Henry Platt. And Chris Wall coming in from the UK, going and racing here in South Africa. As said, was driving a Mercedes in overseas racing and has opted that. Oh, no, he got it L shape on the grass. Henry Platt getting that bit of contact onto the right quarter and rejoins the race. Chris Wall going to keep the power down as Henry's going to try and get into the toe and battle his way through. So a little bit of a touch on the grass there. Not ideal circumstances. Henry Platt looks for the inside. Second guessed it. Really hard on the brakes. You can hear that engine braking coming into play from Henry Platt. Chris Wall's able to keep going. So changing away from Mercedes. He's actually taken up doing commentary in the world of in ERA. So he's given up with Mercedes. He's taken over commentary, which is always great to see. Trying out something a little bit new and in for the fight. He also was doing podcast as well. And lots and lots of fun. Kieran Patterson now into the pits when he was onto the back of Andre Sorodio. And he's going to try and get out ahead of Daniel de Villiers, his own teammate here. It's going to be close. If he doesn't take tyres, he'll be out ahead of de Villiers. If he does take tyres, de Villiers is going to be on the back of him along with Henry Platt at this point. So Henry's going to try and take the opportunity here. And Kieran Patterson will be stopped in the box and waiting for him to come out. Now this pit lane is incredibly long as they fight it out. So Tyler Humphries and Conor Bergstrom, closest fight out on circuit at current, as they make their way around the circuit with Tyler Humphries clipping the dirt there. Conor Bergstrom will be on his tail. Kieran Patterson only stopped in the box, 5.9 seconds, no tyres. He has now just put in a little bit of fuel. He's out ahead of Chris Wall and Henry Platt, but only just heading into turn one by the looks of it. So Chris, there he is on track behind Kieran Patterson. Patterson now leads out those that have completed his pit stop. That puts Chris Wall and Henry Platt in a very, very difficult situation for their race. Vietia Buerta duking it out with Mordre Claessens on his tail, and they are caught up behind the PWSR Ferrari. And Vietia loses out the position, not able to carry the momentum. Mordre gets a run, and Gerrie van Zyl sends it as he looks to try get on by. Vietia losing that rear a little bit, and Gerrie van Zyl says thank you very much. He gets the pass done and dusted. Vietia is going to have to keep in the toe and try and pull himself along. He looks for the inside though, not able to get going. So our leader, Dino Kier, has got Mordre Claessens on the back of him with Gerrie van Zyl, his own teammate, going and being in the fray there. So that's going to help out quite a bit. Tyler Humphries guarding the left-hand side. He wants the outside for this, and Conor Bergstrom just remaining, keeping that pressure on him. I thought he was going to take a peer in for the inside line. Second guess that. Rather going to wait it out that a little bit longer at the point. So absolutely great, great stuff. And I do see Werner Skuman and like to Bego Krobler. Good to see. Werner Skuman also gone to iRacing as well, giving a bit of support to the Pandassi team. And we've seen Werner Skuman landing up doing donuts at the top of the Mount Panorama this previous weekend. Bego Krobler also joined in the fun, leaving a couple of 11s down the mountain as well. Good to see the drivers out there flying back from the likes of Australia and the likes of the iRacing supercars, Gen 3s versus BMW M2s. Bit of a bizarre setup there. Two of the new cars coming in for the season. Seems to be a lot of support for it, having the likes of those two mix. Interesting one, very close racing. Always fantastic to see on a Tuesday, along with the GT3s as well. Dino Kier leading out the pack though, has got Mordre Claessens, who is a blue flag, so he's not worrying about what's behind him. Brandon Kruger, 12.6 seconds behind. So this is going to play into how the championship will evolve, as we do see Conor Bergstrom going to go around the outside of Tyler Humphries. Hard on the anchors, swings it in. Humphries able to keep the momentum, stops it dead. No, he doesn't. He goes out very, very wide. Conor Bergstrom says thank you very much, undercuts him, gets on the power, and that gets Tyler Humphries to the side. He's going to rather get into the box and do his pit stop ahead of Kerrit Bukes, who's further down the order. Paul Fenter into the pits. Man, oh man. Paul has been stopped for quite some time at this point. And I've got a funny feeling that Honda has come to a stop. No, no, no. We can't have that the case. Come on, Paul. Get the car out. I mean, you got its new sponsor on the car for Logistical Nightmare Racing. You've got to get going. You cannot do that. Not fair. Not fair to his team to not get that car across the line under its own steam. So Paul Fenter, I know, will be extremely frustrated with the racing, but yeah, Paul, if you're listening out here, buddy, definitely, or any of the teams of Logistical Nightmare Racing, get into the pit. Go and tell Paul Fenter to get back in the car. We do know he's streaming. Daniel de Villiers defending against Tyre and Elof, who's gone around the outside. Going to be hard work to keep it all together. Very, very close between the two. Man, oh man, Elof gets on by putting the squeeze on de Villiers, but still fantastic run through it all. So going to be a great run through it all. 23 minutes to go, and let's quickly see how this fight's going to go, and then we'll go through the running order as Dino Kier, Brandon Kruger running first and second, Andre Sorodio in that top three. Don't count him out with Blicknote right on his tail, fighting in fourth position. Mahath Musa in fifth, Ryan Barrington Smith in sixth, seventh Kieran Patterson, Chris Wall in eighth, ninth place is Henry Platt, and 10th is Tialan Elof, with de Villiers hanging in for that top 10. He's in the 11th position, really still sticking it in for the fight and going to push himself that little bit further. As we do have one retirement, as we've got two retirements as well, unfortunately, during the course of this race. The likes of... who was that? That was Elof that landed into the dirt. And de Villiers get on by. So what we're trying to take a look. Michael Donaldson was a retirement. And so was the likes... who was also out of this race? Because we have two people out of this race. Unfortunately, cannot confirm that one. But hopefully we can get Paul Fenter getting back in. I mean, the car is there. The car is sitting in pit lane. There's nothing wrong with it. No, no, no. Needs to get that car out and get back into it. Could score valuable points here. He's on the same points as Garrett Bukes. He can chase that fourth position. There is still a fight for points to carry over. Garrett Bukes still needs to get into the pits. Come on. No, this is just unfortunate as he drops out of the order there. Taking a look at it, those that haven't pitted though. Mordre Claessens hasn't been in the pits. Henry Platt, Chris Wall, Ryan Barrington Smith, Mahath Musa, Johan Blicknote, Andre Sorodio, Brandon Kruger, Dean Norkia needing to get themselves into the pit, as we do see a bit of contact between Tyler Humphries and Henry Platt. Now, Henry Platt is up in 9th position. Tyler Humphries in 22nd, but Tyler's not backing off the throttle at the point. He wants to keep up the momentum, knowing the threat of Sean Skitter going and really giving himself that extra little bit of grunt. And could see the entire grandstands going and cheering on, shouting from the rooftops for Paul Fenter to get back in the car. I mean, he has to. He has to get that car up and going. So out there in the virtual grandstands, guys, if you have access to it, if you have access to getting hold of the pits there for Logistical Nightmare Racing, get hold of Paul Fenter. Tell him that Stephen says that he needs to get his backside back into this race to come across the line the right way and not going and throwing in the towel. That's not how you do it. We are South Africans. We go and give it our all until the very end. Whether it be 1,000,000 points ahead, whether it be 1 point. That's all that's needed to go and take a championship. Tia Nieloff is making a good bit of run. He's going to have Christoph Peterson trying to close up that time. Henry Platt now into the pits as he gives it everything he's got. Johan Blicknote onto the back of Andre Sorodio. He's been staring at the back of that Ferrari for quite an age now and just trying to get that little bit of momentum at the moment. Unfortunately, just running into that understeer. Sorodio keeping it all together. Blicknote has put a new set of tyres on. Sorodio's only put fuel in that in their last stop. So Serodio is on an old set of boots here, and he is trying to run it as far out as possible. 19 minutes to go. I think Serodio is going to aim for a quick pit stop versus putting some new set of tires on the car. And let's see how the drivers are going to take this one. Jan Blicknote looks to the inside, way too far back, but just leaning in that right-hand mirror to ensure that Serodio is going to take a quick look. Serodio at this point, not too worried about it. He's going and keeping a very close eye and just watching the mirror ever so slightly, not to take his mind off it, but Blicknote is within striking distance now, closing up that gap. I wouldn't go for the pass in through this chicane. I'd rather wait it out, and it looks like he's going to do that, and focus on getting the drive out. If he could just get that Mustang under control, he's got a lot of drive. This may be an advantage. He's backed out of it. Got so close to the back of Serodio, put a wheel on the dirt, and we are looking out off the back of Andre Serodio's Ferrari 296. This turbocharged V6 fighting it out against the mighty All-American Mustang that is absolutely phenomenally built, now going up against it, and it looks like Blicknote is going to have the run into the corner, and he backed out of it again. Not comfortable to go for that pass just as yet, and he's going to try and force Serodio to run those curves a little bit harder and work the tires down that little bit more. Now it's going to be the advantage. Get close into that slipstream, pull yourself along. Chris Wall coming out of the pits, and Mordred Claessen's in the pits, and Blicknote late on the anchors, and that nose of the Mustang just taking a dive out underneath him. He's not able to get that momentum. What is Serodio going to do here? He looks to go inside, and Blicknote nearly followed him through, but moved out of it. So, I mean, this is a huge, huge run for him out in the running order. Means some proper fights all the way through. And Dean Kier, Brandon Kruger, Blicknote, Musa, Serodio, Barrington Smith, all needing to get themselves done. Oh, looks like a bit of contact between the likes of Elof and Tyler Humphreys, getting a little bit too close for comfort between the two of them, and they're having to make their way through. Mordred Claessen's coming out of the pits. He had a bit of a late stop. Now, this is a bit of a difficult time for Tian Elof. He is so close to De Villiers. Ahead of him is closing up, but when he's getting into a fight with the likes of Tyler Humphreys, it's not working out. Kenny DeCone getting launched back into the pits after that one, going visiting, and unfortunately De Villiers, the old hitman, is ensuring that Kenny got wiped out. De Villiers, Daniel killed Kenny. You can complete the rest of the sentence if you know it all off by heart. Bit of pop culture coming in for those of older age, and absolutely fantastic to see the drivers going. So currently our top 5 needing to get into the pits. Paul Fenter still in the pits, and that is frustrating. And we do talk about, Paul Fenter. He does a lot of streaming. He is a streamer himself and does give a lot of support to it. He does also have a lot of hard work going on as a dad. But for those that know that he does a fair amount of streaming, he's not afraid to call people out. Oh, Kieran Patterson, drive-through penalty. Going and taking a little bit too much curb, and that is going to drop him down the order. A night to forget for Patterson. And this is going to be a tough pill to swallow, as it's going to take him a fair amount of time to make his way through the pits. Tian Elof right onto the back of De Villiers, and this in GTR has got a lot of pressure coming in from the 296 Ferrari. It's looking to fly the flag high here in Monza. It's all about the Italians and not the Japanese, as you can see Tian getting right into the toe, giving it everything he's got, pushing as high as he can. Blicknote has gone into the pits and is out. And we'll see these two charging down at a rate of knots. Side by side they go. De Villiers locking in that inside. He's now going to be stuck on the outside. We've seen Tion get this right. De Villiers try to go for the cutback though, and just couldn't get the drive. That would have been phenomenal. He pivoted the nose to get it, and unfortunately it was not to be. And Elof managing to break on by. I mean, these are incredibly close racing. Final thing for Paul Fenter. Get your car out, or you're never going to live it down on your Friday night podcast. So that is my call out. It will be a haunting reminder for not completing this race. Get that car out, buddy. Get back out on track. So that's the last I'm going to say of it for Paul Fenter. As we're watching some incredible racing here. Tion Elof and Daniel De Villiers keeping close. You also got Tyler Humphries keeping up a good bit of momentum. They've got to take my hats off to him. Kieran Patterson and Tianis Buerta finding it out for the final of the top 10. And with Kieran Patterson serving that drive-through penalty, I'm sure he does not want to run into any issues here. He wants to keep the momentum going, empowering his way through. At the moment, 10th place. He wants to stay in that top 10. 1.3 seconds back is Kieran Patterson. Vietia Buerta dealing with Connor Bergstrom as they fight it out. And these two have also swapped teams during the off-season. Vietia Buerta, formerly known in the Martians. Connor Bergstrom was formerly in the Pandacity team, moving over to the Omnius Gaming. Vietia into Logistical Nightmare. So during the off-season, there has been small changes. Fastest lap of the race, though, goes to Tion Elof with a 146.835. Makes me wonder, if the race played out in his hands, would this have been a different fight for Dean Nokia, Brandon Kruger, Musa, Ryan Barrington-Smith in their race? Now, I do want to point out, Musa is an opportune spot here to be on the third step of the podium. 23 seconds back, 24 seconds back from Brandon Kruger, 2.1 seconds back from him. Ryan Barrington-Smith will be keeping a very close eye on one another. So as they fight it out, we're watching another close battle heading into T1. Vietia Buerta, Connor Bergstrom fighting it out. Mustang versus Ferrari. Looks towards the inside line. And Vietia comes off the throttle onto the brakes. Slows the car down. Didn't want to go for the lunge. It was there. That little voice in the back of the head was shouting from the rooftops, send it. And he decided to rather not. Taking that more cautious approach to it. We're getting reports from Michael Donaldson, unfortunately, will not be back in the car for the last portion of the race. Fair enough. Legitimate reason to be out of the race for retirement. Very, very legitimate reason. And take my hats off to you, buddy, on that one. As we do see Gerrit Bukes, who lost out a lot of time, still to do a single pit stop to get himself sorted. He is still circulating out there. Gotta give it up. Rich Van Heerd also been in the pits multiple times. He is still circulating. Love to see it. Drivers still giving it their absolute all until the very last. Tianis Buerta dealing with Kieran Patterson now as the Pandacity driver, making a big impact for the team. Will deal with Kieran Patterson, one of the old dogs of the PWSR. Looks to the inside, backed out of it though. Gently getting the brakes down. Slight bleed off though. You could see the nose pick its nose up, or the nose lift up a little bit as he came off the brakes. Allows it to fall back onto its rear springs and just to try and balance the car out for a bit of momentum. And that's one thing that these cars have. Think of a seesaw effect when they get onto the anchors. Depending on how your brake bias is, how softly sprung the car is, and where the bump stops are, you can really start pivoting around. You don't want something too soft that it goes and really gives you a tough time, but you don't want it too stiff that any sort of large movement on the car, like hitting the anchors and all the weight shifting to the front, can upset that rear, or even if you're getting onto the power, it goes and upsets the nose. So you got to be very, very cautious, and that's just where a little bit of work comes into these cars. And even though that you can purchase setups, many of the drivers actually modify the setups. Say you go and purchase from Dave, with Coach Dave or Go Setups, A lot of these drivers tinker a little bit just to make it to their personal preference, to fit the driving style that will work out to them. Well, like Tennis Bertha at the moment is giving an absolute beans in that McLaren up against Kieran Patterson, who is a veteran in the likes of the Aston Martin, hard on the anchors, and Kieran around the outside. Bertha trying to just keep it all together. A little bit of understeer comes in and starting to play into effect. And now TNS will be keeping a very, very close charge. Maybe that little bit of voice in the head is going to be shouting, go for the send. He's going to go around the outside. Kieran Patterson going to try and lock it in on the inside. We've seen a switch back here before between the likes of Elof and DeVilliers. And it looks like TNS Bertha not able to carry the momentum through. And Kieran stopping dead on the apex to ensure that pass was not going to happen. TNS is still very close for the fight here. He will have an opportunity to really give it a good go into the next chicane. If he is able to go late on the anchors, 0.2 of a second, very, very late. He's rather going to keep it behind. Can he get a better drive, though, as Kieran launching himself over the curbs? TNS Bertha just putting a wheel off into the dirt. Chris Heineke having that snap oversteer as well, as he's trying to really give it everything he's got to catch up. TNS Bertha, unfortunately, falling in a second of the likes of Patterson, who's now starting to stretch his legs a little bit further during the course of this race. So tires starting to get a little bit worn out on all the cars, and everyone having to work that little bit harder. Henry Plutz is dealing with Conor Bergstrom, closing up the gap. TNS Bertha dealing with Kieran Patterson at the moment. Ryan Barrington-Smith fighting out for the final spot on the podium. Both Musa and Barrington-Smith yet to get in the pits, same as Dean O'Keefe and Brandon Kruger. They are running it very, 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 very late into the race. Musa still on an old set of tires. It's been 24 seconds in the box. He needs to ensure that he's keeping these tires alive. Ryan Barrington-Smith, new set of tires, was held for 32 seconds. Dean O'Keefe, old set of tires. Brandon Kruger, new set of tires. Advantages come here between Ryan Barrington-Smith and Brandon Kruger that are able to go and leapfrog themselves out a little bit more, and how close they are to one another. So keep an eye on this. 39 laps in, Dean O'Keefe on an old set of tires, and so is Mahiath Musa at this point. Mahiath needs to keep a very, very good idea on what he needs to do to keep Ryan Barrington-Smith, an old rival that have been fighting out between the two of them. The Project Vapor and Logistical Nightmare Racing know each other all too well, competing in various different racing forums, whether it be in Le Mans Ultimate, rallying, and in GT3 cars here in the world of Assetto Corsa Competizione. Ryan Barrington-Smith into the pit, so he is looking for the undercut there to try and get it done. Kerry Funzale and Chris Wall fighting it out between one another. Chris Wall keeping rather close to the back of the Ferrari of Nokia, and Kerry Funzale going and jumping over the curb, and you could see instantly having the rear upset underneath him and sliding him out. He is trying, understeer, pushing way too hard. That nose is not wanting to bite, and he is just trying to force it at this point. Going to be using a little bit more steering angle to try and get the car in through the corners to force it being compliant. It actually doesn't work. What you need to start focusing on is slowing it a little bit earlier and a little bit less turning angle. Don't cross your arms trying to get yourself going in there. Don't try and force it, especially with these nose-heavy cars. They will drag themselves through. Henry Platt leading Conor Bergstrom into the corner, and Conor Bergstrom now starting to open up the power. Wants to run away. Kerry Funzale all over the back of Chris Wall, going and backing off a little bit earlier. That's going to work out and will force Chris Wall to go and push himself out a little bit harder throughout this race. So it's going to be a tough time here. Side by side they go. Chris Wall, the British against the South African. Ford Mustang versus the Italian Bull of the Lamborghini. Hard on the anchors, and Chris outbrakes himself, and that is exactly what needed to be done. Not going to work out for the triple set for the likes of Chris Wall, as he loses out the position to Kerry Funzale. Just let him into the corner and that worked out. Tyler Humphries, and that is Garrett Bukes. Now, Garrett Bukes is trying to unlap himself from Humphries, and the two came to blows against one another. Brandon Kruger into the pits. Right, he is coming out of pit lane. Mahath Musa is yet to pit. Okay, so interesting stuff here. Musa needs to get into the pits, and so does Dean Nokia. Brandon Kruger is going to be in for a chance here. He's 11 seconds off the back of Mahath Musa. That puts him 44 seconds away from Dean Nokia. A drive through the pits is roughly 33 seconds. So, if Brandon Kruger can really dial up the whip to try and close up, get rid of that 11 seconds, he may have a chance here to catch Dean Nokia on the back foot. I don't think he's got enough in the tank to do it. Tian Elof, 1.8 seconds to Andre Sorodio. Interesting enough here to see this may turn into quite a formidable fight. Jason Farmer, huge drive on Vietia Buerta, and it's going to have a good go. These two have battled it out. The biggest battles that they've had was actually in endurance racing for the teams. As we see, Jason Farmer tried looking on the inside of Vietia Buerta, not able to. So Dinokia into the pits. This is where it may all turn for him. Mahath Musa coming down the back straight. So Musa will take the position away from Dean Nokia, but will lose out. And is Musa going to go that extra lap? Yes, he is. So he's going to take that position as he makes his way through. Brandon Kruger through Parabolica, absolutely hammering it. Dean Nokia coming out of pit lane, so he will be ahead of Brandon Kruger, who is chasing him down at a rate of not 6 seconds, separating the two as they fight it out. Jason Farmer getting on past Vietia Buerta, a little bit of contact to them. So Brandon Kruger is in a bit of a compromising situation here. He's got more Drake Larsons ahead of him to possibly give the tow. Dean Nokia stopped in the box, 5.7 seconds. So he is still on an old set of tires. Has he looked after it enough to still be in for the fight here? 4.9 seconds separating Dean Nokia and Brandon Kruger. As they're coming into shot, the only car separating them is Mordrake Larson's in the Porsche. Mordrake can be that little bit of a doorstop for the likes of Brandon Kruger. He wants to make sure he can get on by Mahath Musa, 6 seconds ahead of them. You can see Dean Nokia coming into shot as well. And Mahath Musa will need to pull in the pits. That will take him out of the fight. Possibly aiming at a third place though, as he may just have enough to keep ahead of Blucknote. It is a very, very slim chance, but Musa may have an opportunity here to hold third place if Blucknote gets a poor drive. So it's all on Blucknote to constantly keep up the pace. 1 minute and 26 seconds to go. Musa will have to get in the pits this lap. As he does so, Dean Nokia will retake the top spot ahead of Brandon Kruger, who will run into second place. Leader is on the final lap. We just heard from Jim, and it is going to be an outright charge to the end. Brandon Kruger not finding his way past Mordrake Larson's at this point. 4 seconds back from Dean Nokia. I don't think he's going to have enough in the fight. Dean Nokia may have an opportunity here. Mordrake Larson's loses out the drive, allows Brandon Kruger to go, but I don't think it's enough. Ryan Barrington-Smith up on the inside of Daniel de Villiers. These two know each other very, very well. Practice on the same track, same time, and are big buddies with one another in the pits as they see Mahath Musa just ahead. Oh, Ryan Barrington-Smith getting a bit unsteady, trying to come back to the racing line, and seeing de Villiers is not going to give him an inch. Mahath Musa just ahead, will stay in for the fight. Kieran Patterson, though, gets past Tyler Humphries. There was contact between the two of them. Not going to be a great one there, as I think Humphries getting a little bit of a poor drive. And he is driving a fairly wide car at this point. against the competition and will be pacing Kieran Patterson all the way through. Oh, contact once again between the two of them, with Kieran getting very unsettled under braking as well. So Humphries trying to hurry him on along there. Dean Lockyer, though, 3 seconds ahead of Brandon Kruger, coming up to Parabolica, and will be taking the checkered flag. Coming across the line, Dean Lockyer has done it to take the checkered flag and take round 2 here at Monza for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship, with Brandon Kruger in 2nd place, fighting it out. Blicknote will take 3rd, as Serodio too far back. Tyre Elof will be in 5th, but the battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th is still on, with the likes of Mahiath Musa ahead of Daniel De Villiers. Ryan Barrington-Smith, final corner to go. Daniel slides in that Nissan GTR, and it looks like it is going to be Ryan Barrington-Smith. Oh, unsteady on the exit, not going to have the drive, and it will be the Nissan GTR ahead of the Aston Martin, taking 8th place. Christoph Peterson will come across the line in 9th, staying within that top 10. Kieran Patterson, despite the drive-through, gets 10th position, followed by Tienes Puerta ahead of Chris Heineke as they come across the line. Ruben Heineke, phenomenal job on his part, takes 13th. Kerry van Zyl will fight it out with Chris Wall 1.3 seconds behind. I don't think that is going to be for the likes of Chris Wall to get that pass done and dusted. Kerry van Zyl will finish ahead. Chris Wall in the Lamborghini will finish up in 15th. No sneezing effort there. Conor Bergstrom will run ahead of Henry Platt. Between the two Omnius Gaming drivers, 16th and 17th. Jason Farmer, a huge fight on his part, despite the crashing and despite having a very long pit stop, in a 2nd pit stop after taking on a bit of damage, will finish up in 18th. Vietia Buerta in 19th position, with Alan Patterson rounding out our 20th position. So phenomenal work there. Muldrake Claessens, Tyler Humphrey, Sean Skitter, Claire Pukes, Richard Van Heed comes across the line in 25th, with the retirements unfortunately coming and playing in a big effect, with the likes of Paul Fenter as well, who was unfortunately not able to get that car across the line. Very unfortunate to see that, but well done to a lot of these drivers. I mean, there was an absolute huge debacle of that major accident on the early stage of the race. Landed up with quite a few cars, very second-hand, Jude Neville being one of them. And I think Jude was actually one of our retirements. So Jude Neville being one of the retirements after nearly 5 minutes of damage. He was able to get the car out again, but just not able to get it across the line. So a very unfortunate time there. Would have been a great time to see him finishing the race after everything, but just couldn't quite pull it to the line. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I mean, we're going to be taking a look at some of the highlights, the action highlights that was out on the circuit, and having a chat to quite a few of our drivers coming through. I see the virtual grandstands coming live as everyone starts to make their way to the podium spots. And we will be having a chat to a few of our drivers that will be here. So let's see if we can start bringing in a few of our drivers to come and have a chat with us and give us a bit of insight of how their race went here at round 2 at Monza. Starting off, we have got Dean Lockyer to come and have a chat. Dean, welcome to the commentary box. What a phenomenal effort. I mean, this is a huge pick-me-up. Wednesday landed up way down in the grid, needing a bit of convincing from the team to get the car out and to finish the race. Once again, congratulations on that one. But first place is definitely no sneezing feat. Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible race on your part. And how are you feeling, considering last night was one of the low moments in your sim racing career?
Yeah, look, last night is not my proudest moments, you know. I was really prepared, working on my tyre wear the whole race. Unfortunately, I got sort of clipped by a good friend of mine. No hard feelings there, but then I was a little bit greedy and foolish. Tried to sneak back on the edge of the track, and I unfortunately destroyed 2 of my friends' races. So yeah, not a good moment for me, but definitely learn from that, especially knowing the pace that I had here. Not just hot lapping for some people, but yeah, really got good consistency, tyre wear, and yeah, I'm very happy. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Well, I've got to point out, I mean, the race was definitely working out in your favor. Was there any concern towards the end? Brandon Kruger closing up 3.3 seconds behind you, and it was so close towards the end.
To be very, very honest with you, I actually let Brandon go in the beginning because he was catching up with me. And I knew my race pace, what I needed to do, so I wasn't going to try and battle with somebody with some other drivers, only a second or 2 seconds behind us. It would not be foolish, it would be bad race IQ. So I actually left it for him just before Ascari to let him go, because I knew he's got a runner in front pace. And that actually worked in my favour. I just kept it outside of the dirty air, obviously not to get washed and not to scrub my front wheels. I just tried to keep it within 1.5 seconds, 2.5 seconds, and the major factor or gamble for me was to see, because I knew I was not going to change tyres. So I was tyre saving the whole stint, about 2-3 tenths off my normal pace I could do. And the gamble was to see, are they going to change tyres? So I had to still stay within 2.5 seconds. And the moment I saw he came out a little bit further, I knew he had changed tyres, that he would need to gain 15 seconds about on me. That's not going to change tyres. So my calculations, when I saw that within 15 seconds behind with about, 20 laps or something to go, he had to be more than 6, 7, 8 tenths a lap faster than I am. And he wasn't doing that, unfortunately, with it. He has got rocket pace. So I just kept it clean, kept it on the track, and knew he had to do 46s the whole race to get me at the end.
And Monza, a bit of a tricky one for trying to cut your way through traffic. We saw quite a few times where when it came down to straight lines, so many people evenly matched. And did that provide a little bit of difficulty on trying to get around the traffic that's around there? We're having some incredible fights by themselves. I mean, you've got caught into seeing some proper side-by-side racing and having to decide getting past in a hurry or rather to wait it out.
That's actually very true. So I just tried to see exactly the times that I was doing, and I knew I had about 4.5 seconds worth of mistakes that I can do on top of the current time that he's chunking off me because he was coming rapid fire. And I knew I've got about 4.5 seconds worth of patience that I can have. So I did the calculations quite thoroughly, to be very honest. And I think there was a backmark, I think it was Seawall or someone like that. But also I just really need to do a shout out quickly, if you don't mind, for Geer van Sail. I think it was him as well as Mondre. When I came up the pits, they were obviously a pit stop or a longer pit stop behind. And there was one or two moments or 3 moments that Van Sail could have actually passed me to sort of unlap himself. But there was no close driver ahead of him for him to necessarily do that. So he left it a few times on the straight for me, obviously being on fresh tyres and maybe 2-3 tenths a lap quicker. So I just want to say what a true gentleman and sportsman for allowing me to have my race with Brandon. Thank you so much for Mr. Van Sail.
Oh, absolutely great stuff. Well, before I let you go and enjoy the celebrations with your entire team and also with our amazing petrol heads out in the grandstand, anything you would like to say to all the drivers out there, being a part of the show, all the teams, our partners here at the RaceFace.Pro, and also to all our amazing petrol heads in the grandstand?
Oh, for sure. Look, there's a lot of banter going up and down. There's a lot of love-hate relationships, which is wonderful. I absolutely like it. But thank you again, Stephen, Tristan, and the other commentator. I think it's Tristan, yes. Thank you so much for always putting on a good show. Thank you, Hansi, for putting up with every new person, doing all the commentary, comment sections, and all of that stuff there. And just one other shout out to a very, very close dear friend of mine. Sorry, Mnir, I am not just a hot lapper. I think now 3 races in a row. No tyre change all the way to the end with the consistency. I think squatters, that little factor. He'll know what I'm talking about, but yeah, that's the little friendly thing going on there. But apart from that, Joe, thank you so much. Thank you to Mr. Blichloot and Mr. Kruger for showing true pace at the end there. So thank you so much to everyone.
Absolutely great stuff. Dino here of PWSR going and having a great race. Finishing up in first place and phenomenal job. So we're not going to have the likes of Brandon Kruger, unfortunately, not able to join us in the commentary box, but we will have his teammate coming in 3rd place, Johan Blichnoot. Johan, congratulations. What a race. First, great qualifying that moved you up. You were side by side with your own teammates, seeing them 2 mighty forwards chasing each other down. and really looking forward to its top. A very, very close battle between yourself, Andre Sorodio, Tian Elof, Mahayath Musa, Daniel de Villiers throughout the entirety of the race. It was an up and down battle. How are you feeling after? First, let's talk about your qualifying, putting yourself up into the top spot, the second row, and willing to duke it out and have a great race through. Take us through that.
Yeah, quali was unexpected. I didn't think I'm gonna do it 2 times in a row, but the Mustang just keeps pushing through where you least expect it. And to keep up with the Ferraris down the straight, magic.
Now the race, tyre wear became a very interesting factor. You, in the second pit stop, deciding to only take fuel. We've heard from Dinoc here saying he was trying to save his tyres towards the end. What was your plan in terms of tyre wear, or were you trying to save tyres? Were you burning the first lot off, try and focus on the attack? What was the game plan there?
Yeah, sitting behind Tian Elof in the first stint really took some life out of my tyres. So I gave him a gap, let him go, let tyres cool down, and just push on until pit stop the new rubber on the car. Going for just a splash and dash on the end to keep the momentum, and it worked out.
Absolutely great stuff. Well, towards the end, a close race through. You got the run, you got that third place, standing on the podium yet again. Great, great moments coming into play. And especially after a bit of a interesting run in the sprint series, there's been some proper high moments and low moments. What is your feelings to it? Are you confident for round 3?
Yeah, I'm excited about the track that's coming up. With the sprint race last night, I got a bit close to Dean and tried to swerve, and I hit a bump, and it sent me straight into him, making him spin. And yeah, the rest is history.
Fair enough.
Fair
enough, but still, great racing there. And, you always live and learn with the bumps, it seems. Before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations with your team and also with the incredible partners that we have here at the world of RaceFace.Pro, the amazing teams, drivers, and the petrol heads that have charged the circuit, going and taking a look underneath. Fantastic. Always love coming to the Italians. Just make sure that you always, when you're cooking spaghetti, you snap it in half and you put it in the bowl. It works like a charm, doubles up what you got. I think I may have irritated an Italian or two there. But anything you'd like to say to everyone out there?
First of all, I just want to thank our sponsors, AUC, Switch Energy, and Init, for making it possible for us to run on track. And big thanks to all the guys that showed up tonight, and the Ferraris that was rockets down the straight. And
Absolutely.
Steven, I'm not taking part of you snapping spaghetti. That you're on your own with that one.
Come on, Dylan. I thought I would have a friend. So far, 2 nights in a row. No one wants to try it with it. Oh, well, that's all I'll keep to the pizza. But absolutely well done, Mr. Blicknote. Go and enjoy the celebrations. Well deserved and well earned on your 3rd place.
Cool, thanks, Steven. Well done, Dean.
Good to see that huge amount of excitement coming in, support coming in, and Mustang taking people back, including the own drivers, trying to figure out where does the extra pace come from. In practice, complaining of understeer, race seems to perform. Well, maybe under pressure, it all changes. But that being said, it does bring us to the end of round 2, where we're going to be saying farewell to the stunning track of Monza here in Italy. We'll be moving on in our racing calendar and looking forward to seeing some great races ahead of us. Remember, we have got 8 rounds to contend with, tripping all around the world here at RaceFace.Pro. And next up, we'll be heading to Messino. So keep an eye on that. Messino, very tight, technical circuit that is going to be fighting it out. Left, right, and center, folks. And we will be seeing the drivers fighting out at their best. Remember, there's no drop rounds here, so they've got to perform every single time. A big shout out to our partners here at RaceFace.Pro, Red Star Raceway, Scallywags Drifting Academy, and Rhino Utility jumping on board for the season. Good to have them here and good to see them being a part. But a big shout out to all the teams, drivers, families, friends, and most importantly, to you, the petrol heads that keep us going every step of the way and always just being that huge excitement. Absolutely love it. And this is why I keep coming back for more. Same as you for the action. Shout out to our admins and stewards that have been working tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that everything keeps going. So take a look out on RaceFace.Pro. Lots coming out on our Facebook page. You do not want to miss that. You also want to keep up with our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, bell notification, leave a like as well. And let us know what was your favorite part of the race here at RaceFace.Pro. And like always, we're going to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody. More importantly, to all those out there, have a happy Valentine's Day. You will always race first into my heart, everyone. We'll see you next time. Same place, same time. And heading back with our GT3s and iRacing next week, Tuesday.